Yata Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders in Great Millstone who rule well and teach well with sincerity, honesty, and integrity. Brothers laboring in His truth, putting their life on the line, especially in these times. Salutations to you, brothers and sisters who believe in this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, I had to touch on this topic, man, because it's going to be another installment of Watch and Pray. I was listening to the elder out in Vegas, Elder Karakterzak. If I'm not mistaken, Elder Karakterzak. And he was going over a video with talking about that executive order when it comes to homelessness, right? So I went to ChatGPT, because we like to go into research ourselves, and I was reading up on this, and I decided, I want to do a quick little lesson on it as well, all right? But ChatGPT, I put in, what is the new executive order on homelessness means? It said, here's what the new executive order on homelessness signed in late July 2025, titled Ending Crime and Disorder on American Streets entails and what it could mean. Key provisions of the order. It encourages reinstating involuntary civil commitment, allowing state and local authorities to hospitalize homeless individuals with serious mental illness or severe substance use disorders without their consent if they're deemed unable to care for themselves or a public risk. Federal grants, particularly through HUD, DOJ, HHS, and DOT, will be prioritized for cities that enforce bans on urban camping, open drug use, loitering, squatting, and that implement registration and tracking of homeless sex offenders. All right. It says the EO redirects federal funding away from housing first models and harm reduction programs such as supervised injection or safe consumption sites toward exclusively treatment-focused systems. All right, ideally, like even the elder was going through, it sounds like something, like, okay, yeah, fix up the homelessness, right? But when you really look at it, right, like, all steps of week, man. And if I know a lot of you brothers, man, can really relate to this, man. We are literally on the brink of being homeless, man. Like, man, you gotta work 2-3 jobs. Me and the brothers going over it. Sometimes you gotta work man. You need that day of rest, and you can't, man, because you are behind the 8 ball, man. When it comes to bills, everything, it's expensive to live, man. And a lot of brothers are just getting by, man. You see, and loss of few paychecks, loss of job. Now a lot of, especially with automation replacing positions and a lot of jobs doing a lot of layoffs, man. It's gonna get harder, and that's gonna be the reality for a lot of people, man, that they're gonna be homeless, man. So having this law out, to me, when I was thinking I'm gonna get into it, is just a step into getting, building how they building up these internment camps, all right, and having basically putting people in these internment camps, man, and ultimately, getting to the point where they're gonna delete a lot of people, man, like the elder was saying, like thinning the herd, right? But let's read some more, and then we'll go. Key provisions of the order. It encourages reinstating voluntary civil commitment. Let me jump down. My fault, Salakia. I'm gonna go jump down to concerns and criticisms. All right. Civil rights advocates warn that this policy criminalizes homelessness and risk institutionalizing vulnerable people without due process. You see, and like the elders, and like they already doing that with the Northern Kingdom. They're gonna come eventually again. I was, not to be one of the brothers at work. He had me print something out for him. One of, not brothers at work, but one of the, Jake, which is come from the tribe of Levi, Haitian, he doesn't know. I ain't break it down, but Haitian, give me some paperwork on his immigration, man, and because we know, like, what is it called, a TSP? If I'm not mistaken, I forget what it's called. TSP, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. But their temporary status, TPS, temporary TPS, I think, temporary status though, and it's coming up to an end. All right, so man, it's getting ugly, man. It's getting real ugly. But let me go back into this. It reads, civil rights advocates warns that this policy criminalizes homelessness and risks institutionalizing vulnerable people without due process. They argue it disproportionately harms marginalized groups and misrepresents the root cause of homelessness as personal failing rather than housing scarcity, man. Because come on, man, the cost of rent is through the roof, man. I remember it was a time and places, certain places in the country, like when I used to live in Georgia, man, you can get a 2-bedroom in a gated community. I was in a gated community for $750. I was asking a man, who came, he was telling me that same community is like 16, 17, it's like 1,800 or something like that. He said it was like very expensive. And this is Georgia. You get what I'm saying? I remember, as from them, from Providence, Rhode Island, I was living out there. The rent, when I went out there during COVID, rent was good. Now, man, it's hard to find an apartment under $2,000, man. And, under 1,800, man. And Jake ain't getting paid that much, man. The majority of Jake are not getting paid that much, man. You see? So, and it's hard. And even this Jake out there that's struggling, man. The average Jake is struggling, man. All right? And the average Egyptian American isn't struggling, man. All right? But especially with Jake, when you go into the statistics, right? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? It reads, experts highlight that the state law governs involuntary commitment so that the order's implementation will vary widely and may face judicial challenges where civil liberties or medical privacy HIPAA concerns arise. Critics say that the reducing funding for harm reduction services may lead to worse public health outcomes and higher rates of overdose or disease transmission. All right, the executive order does not address the underlying driver of homelessness, a shortage of affordable housing and broader economic insecurity, man. You see, because they don't give a fuck, ultimately, man. Right? Again, the Lord is making it, he's setting up that stage because of Jacob's trouble, which is going to be everybody's trouble, man. But you are seeing the infrastructure being built right before your eyes of the beginning of Jacob's trouble. Like, we're already seeing it, we take it, we can smell it, we can taste it, but we're going to be soon smack dead in the middle of it, man. All right? And low impact, what it could mean for cities. Example, Boston. Funding pressure. Cities that currently rely on housing first or harm reduction strategies may find their federal grants reduced or conditioned on enforcement style approaches, right? Because now they're going to not receive that funding and they're going to be, authorized, they're going to be authorizing now to the point where they're going to have to do what they got to do, man. And man, that's crazy. Legal variability. States with stringent civil commitment laws may resist efforts to involuntarily hospitalize people, while others may more aggressively use the new federal guidance. Because you're going to have people, especially those blue states try to, but man, you're going to have some states, man, they're going to love it. They're going to go gun-ho, man. Just like, and no matter what, this is going to be something that's going to affect everybody everywhere, man. In the country, all right, of the USA, right? Policy tension, municipalities that prioritize, yep. Prioritize public health, shelter capacity, and affordable housing may find themselves conflicting with this federal directive. All right. In summary, let's just read the bottom line. The executive order marks a sharp shift from housing and public health oriented strategies to a law enforcement driven, institutionalized treatment model for homelessness. While proponents frame it as a moral and safety necessity, critics fear it will worsen conditions, undermine proven housing first solutions, and erode civil rights. The ultimate impact will deepen heavily on state implementation, legal pushback, and local political will. All right, this is the one internment camps definition. So internment camps are facilities used to detain people, often in large groups, right? Because these homeless, man, it's a large amount of people that's homeless, man. And like I said, we all a few paychecks away, one paycheck away from being homeless, man. All right, and it reads. Internment camps or facilities used to detain people are often in large groups without trial, right? Using during wartime or in situations of perceived threats, right? Then he said those people are perceived threats, right? Perceived threats, because that's up to them. That they have the discretion to say what to them is a threat, right? Of perceived threats to national security. These camps can be used to confine enemy citizens or terrorism suspects, right? Man, you see who they. Sometimes these camps are used to detain specific groups based on ethnicity, religion, or political affiliation. And then over time, you seen all those coffins, right, that they had, on that train, and all the things that, man. Don't be surprised, man. There's going to be a lot of dead bodies, man, in these next up-and-coming months, man. All right? It reads, here's a more detailed breakdown. Purpose. Internment camps are primarily used for the detention of individuals without formal charges or trials. So you haven't been charged or have a right to a trial, but you're in this internment camp, like prison. They're going to have, like, alligator Alcatraz. There's going to be harsh conditions, man. And because Esau Edom don't give a fuck, man. Especially the elite of Esau Edom. They don't give a fuck, man. But even their peons, man, they're what you would call it, their hegemony, right? Their power structure, the people on top, right? Their power structures, yep. Let me see, yep. Especially here in America, but that's, it's getting rough, man. It's getting rough. Let me, I'm trying to see some. Okay, there we go. Yeah, during wartime, an individual suspect of posing a security risk. Historical examples throughout history, internment camps have been used in various causes. For example, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, Nazi concentration camps during World War II, the internment of civilians in the British concentration camps during the Second World War. So, yeah, man. So I just wanted to bring that out. But, yeah, we want to apply this to, this is to qualify the scripture. This is when Antiochus, all right, in the time of the Maccabees, right? In the time of when he was in Antiochus Epiphanes IV, right? But we want to bring this out because we can apply it also today. Nothing new under the sun. Antiochus, Daniel 8:8-25, it reads, and through his policy also, he should cause craft to prosper in his hand, and shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the princes of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. But through his policies, he's going to destroy many. All right, and like I said, man, we're just thinking on a on a smaller scale. Oh, it's just doing no, man. We are, as things ramp up, companies is gonna have to do some downsizing. So who the first people they're gonna have to let go, man? Is people that's part of their expenses, which is people. All right, and ultimately that's just on the Lord's. That's what the Lord is gonna. That's how the Lord is gonna have it play out, man. You see, because ultimately we're gonna be headed into Jacob's trouble. All right. Let's get that one. Yep, 94 and 20. Psalm 94 and 20. It reads, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Okay? And that's what they do, man. They write in these grievous and prescribe these grievous legislations, right? Matter of fact, we'll just grab it since I read that. Then we'll break it down. So man. Again, man, that's what happened. Leaving myself, man. I worked 2 jobs. Still getting by, man. Right? And tired as hell, though. Isaiah 10 and 1, it reads, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people. You see? That widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. Yeah, man. So ultimately, man, these men have done nothing but come at Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and those even scattered abroad. But here in America, this man is gonna be like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour, man. And he's gonna. And the scripture says, judgment must begin at the house of where? Israel, man. So that Jacob's trouble is gonna hit Jacob in a hard way, and it's gonna hit the whole world. But Jacob's gonna really feel it, man, because he has this old hatred for the nation of Israel, man. And yes, there's a lot of Edomites. Some of them could be Jake, right? Because they perceive to look like Edomites, but we don't know. We can't tell by the outer appearance if somebody's a Jake, right? So we got to try the spirit by the spirit. However, we know a lot of Edomites. Remember, these curses are coming gonna spin the block and come on our enemies, man. But what we seeing how this is gonna all play out, man. He's setting up he's setting it up. He's setting the stage for a fucking Salakia. Setting the stage, excuse my friend, setting the stage for something big to happen, man. Where it's gonna be all hell gonna break loose, man. And people they're gonna have so much laws, and they already have it, right? But they gotta continue to do it gradually, put people in these internment camps and these alligator Alcatraz, right? Man, that's inhumane, man. You think Esau really give a fuck, man? Absolutely not, man. But man, let me get out of here, man. The spirit. These fucking devils. Hold on, man. Fuck yeah. Be out here. Yeah, man. So the Lord, man, he's making it be known, man. That's why we gotta watch and pray. We gotta constantly, ask the Lord for mercy, man, to cover us in these times to come, man. But yeah, man. With that, man, I pray this lesson was edifying. Shalom to the whole